This is Chris Albert, and I'm here to remind you of one thing. Someday, you're going to die. Now, that's not some morbid statement or scary idea. It's solid fact. Your time here on this earth is limited. And you need to be reminded of this as much as possible for one simple reason. To live your best life while you can. This is the Warrior Soul Podcast.
You know, one of the things I've discovered throughout my life is that it's easy for somebody to be tough when times are easy, when life seems to be falling into place, when you don't have much to worry about. In fact, everybody tries to act like they're tough when things are easy. But the thing is this, that's a lot of talk. And when it comes down to it, a lot of us aren't so good at being tough when things get hard, when life seems to be closing in on you. And a lot of us tend to freak out. You know, we start getting bouts of anxiety. We get the massive temptation to run away from our problems, to try to hide from them, to not think about them. You know, you start lying awake at night and you're trying to do everything you can to put it out of your head. And in some ways, you know, it's normal to feel anxiety, but a lot of us, we retreat to anxiety when we suffer problems. Why? Well, it's because we have this thing in our heads that tell us, hey, you've got to start freaking out right now, right? That fight or flight response. And I'm not saying that you can't feel what you're feeling, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. I mean, if you're having anxiety, you're getting nervous, you're starting to sweat, you're getting those sleepless nights. Obviously, those are normal responses when you're going through issues, and I've suffered from all of that. But there comes a certain point to where you are spending more time worrying rather than actually seeking a solution. And I think that that's so easy for us to fall into because you don't even realize it's occurring. You know, you're sitting there, you're anxious about something, you're thinking about it, you're thinking about it, you're thinking about it. It's disrupting your work, it's disrupting your relationships, it's disrupting everything. And when it comes down to it, all you've really done about it is worry. So what am I saying here? What I'm saying is this. When it comes down to problems, they're best met early and up front. And what you'll notice is that the second you start taking action, the second you start trying to do something about it, the second you start trying to meet that problem head on, the less insurmountable it becomes. It comes down to taking the single step, moving forward, and doing something. Right? And a lot of you could relate to this. You know that feeling before you're going out on a patrol, right? Your butt's all curled up. You got that level of excitement. Maybe you're a little bit nervous, right? Maybe you're getting a bit of anxiety. And, you know, you're probably still anxious once you're out there. But once it comes down to it, you know, the anxiety starts to lift a little bit when you're finally out there and you're finally working. You know, the same thing happens to me prior to going to jiu-jitsu. Every single time I'll debate about getting my gi on, and then it'll take me, you know, another few minutes to gather up my stuff, and then I'll finally take the walk out to my car, and the whole time I'm driving over there, I feel anxious about, you know, what the practice is going to be like, and then finally I'll step onto the mat, and we'll start drilling, and the anxiety starts to lift, right? It's the same thing here. If you got a problem, right? Yes, fine. If you have anxiety, there's no problem with that. But don't let that anxiety keep you from actually doing something. Because the longer you wait, the longer you sit there in inaction, the more you're going to feel it. The more that anxiety is going to take over, the more it's going to interrupt different aspects of your life, the more it's going to keep you from being the person you should be for your family, for your loved ones, for your job, for everything that you stand for, right? Because I've been there before, sitting there, worrying about something. And then somebody comes to me with something they need me for. Maybe it's my girlfriend, or maybe it's a family member, maybe it's my mom. And you know that feeling. You start to freak out. Why are they bothering me right now? Why are they interrupting my thoughts about my problem? Why aren't they letting me think about it? Right? And that all comes because you haven't taken action yet, because you haven't started. Right? The quicker you start meeting your problems head on, the faster you'll be able to become the person you should be, the person you need to be. And the thing is this, for every problem that you have, you could look at it in one of two ways. You can either ask, why is this happening to me? Or you could say, what can I learn from this? Right? What can I learn from this? What can this teach me? How can this help me to become a stronger person? Right? And the sooner you start thinking about that, transforming those thoughts, the more likely you are to allow that to strengthen you rather than weaken you. It's a quick one today, guys. A lot of thoughts on my mind this week. I hope you get something out of it. For those of you new to the show, this is the Warrior Soul Podcast. My name's Chris Albert. I create the show to help U.S. military veterans and anybody else who's willing to listen to live better lives. Lives of productivity, lives of creation, lives of amazing adventure. Well, I just came up with that, amazing adventure. But seriously, this is about you guys, trying to help you to be everything that you should be. And all we really ask in return here is that you let other people know about the show. Write us a review up on iTunes. If you can, pay us the highest compliment and share it with a friend who could use it. If you want to support the show financially, we do have a clothing store. And that is the Warrior Soul clothing brand store. It's a brand that I created along with my brother, Albert Carrasco, who's another Marine Corps brother of mine. And we create military and patriotic gear. And if that's up your alley, you can definitely take a look over there. We have some amazing stuff. And you can find all of our other amazing content over at www.warriorsoulagogi.com. And you'll also find our shop there. I also want to say that this podcast is sponsored by the good people over at F-Bomb Nutrition. They make delicious packets of fats, macadamia nut butters, coconut butters. They're so good. They mix them up with a bunch of different awesome things like chocolate, sea salt, and you can carry around you can carry them around with you wherever you want to go. They're super portable and a great way of getting a healthy snack in. They're also sending boxes of this stuff out to the troops on the front lines, and they're just great people. If you want to get 20% off your first order of F-Bombs, head over to www.dropinfbomb.com. Use the code WarriorSoul at checkout, and you'll get 20% off your first order. With that, I want to thank you guys so much for listening to the Warrior Soul Podcast, and I'll be back at you later on this week with some more awesome content.